Yeah, I'm doing the Tour de Fleece without the fleece. Hello, fiber folks. My name is Trent. I'm the Weft Wright, and welcome to my tiny fiber studio here in the mountains of Western North Carolina. So for this year's Tour de Fleece, I've got something special planned for week one. Here in the United States, it's 4th of July, and I'm honestly feeling a little mixed. I think no matter what side of the political spectrum you're on, there's a lot to be worried about right now in our country. And I'm not feeling very stars and stripes patriotic, but I love the 4th of July. I love our country, and I wanted to find a way to celebrate our heritage. And I'm celebrating it with cotton. Unlike wool, cotton is native to the Americas, and the kind of cotton I'm spinning, Acadian Brown Cotton, is a species of cotton specific to the Louisiana area, South Louisiana, where I used to live. And I thought there was nothing more patriotic than this natural, homegrown fiber. I know it's not technically a fleece. I know it's not technically wool, but in German, they do call it Baumwoll, which means tree wool, which I've always found a really funny and accurate description of what cotton is. So if you want to join me today, I'm going to be spinning some brown cotton. First of all, this cotton is actual Acadian brown cotton grown organically in South Louisiana, and I'm going to card it. It's already been ginned by machine. I'm going to card it. It has a very short staple length, and I'm going to spin it on my spinning wheel Gladys. We're going to talk a little bit more about Gladys later, but first, let's talk a little bit more about Acadian brown cotton and its history. Acadian brown cotton has a personal place in my fiber journey. Years ago, I spent time in Lafayette, Louisiana, learning about this remarkable plant, not just as a fiber, but as a legacy. I was lucky to meet incredible people like Austin Clark, who has been instrumental in preserving and promoting heirloom cotton traditions. His passion for this fiber, for its history, its resilience, and its beauty has stayed with me. I'm very fortunate to know him and wish I could have attended his class about spinning Acadian brown cotton in the Acadian way that he did at the John C. Campbell Folk School. At the time, there was a stunning exhibit at the Hilliard Art Museum called Acadian Brown Cotton, the Fabric of Acadiana. It wasn't just a display of textiles, it was a cultural reclamation. The exhibit told the story of how Acadian women, displaced from their homes and forced to adapt, had their families plant this brown cotton in their gardens to keep it alive through centuries of upheaval. The fiber was spun, woven, and worn, a quiet thread of resistance and survival woven through Louisiana's humid fields. Cotton has grown in the Americas for thousands of years. Indigenous people cultivated naturally pigmented cottons in colors from russet and bronze through sage green and tan long before European contact. These cottons weren't just functional, they were meaningful, beautiful, and deeply embedded in ritual and daily life. But these native cottons, especially brown ones, have a short staple, and individual fibers are much shorter than the long-stapled white cottons that industrial spinning machinery prefers. As the textile industry rose, especially in the 19th century, brown cotton was pushed aside. White cotton imported from Egypt and India were longer and more uniform, better suited for high-speed mechanized spinning and easier to bleach and dye. Brown cotton simply didn't fit the industrial mode. So it was lingering in the backyard gardens and homestead rows cherished by those who remembered, who spun it by hand, who wove it into stories. It survived not because it was profitable, but because it was beloved. Spinning it now feels like reaching backwards and forwards at the same time. It's not just about making yarn, it's about honoring the people who kept this plant alive and the people who have revived it from almost extinction. And it also reminds me of my time in Louisiana and the wonderful people who I met there. Resilient, strong, and very crafty. All right, we're here on my beautiful porch. I always enjoy spinning in the summer on the porch here in the mountains in the shade. It's absolutely beautiful. It's very cool and breezy. And I imagine women in Appalachia were probably spinning on their porches in the summer as well to beat the heat because the porch was a really central area when the temperatures rose. I'm here with my wheel, who I've named Gladys after my grandmother. There's a video which I'll link here about Gladys. Some people rightly probably pointed out that this was originally a bobbin winder for weaving, but I believe someone added the miner's head accelerator by mistake to this wheel. And so it actually makes a really great wheel for spinning. But the first thing we have to do with our brown cotton, this is 1 pound, believe it or not, of Acadian brown cotton. We have to card the cotton to prep it for spinning. A lot of people may be familiar with the Indian technique of making poonies. These are not going to be quite as tight as that. These are a traditional row log. I'm going to try to get this from a few different angles so you can see exactly how I do the carding. So let's get to it. First things first, you're going to need your cards. These are an old set of card handles that I've put new carding cloth on. Originally, these is a number 10 cotton cards. You might be able to see that there. But I actually don't like the really, really dense TPI. So I think this is just like 120 as opposed to like the 192 DPI that you see sometimes. I just find it easier to card. So contrary to popular belief, you don't actually need a cotton card to comb cotton as long as it has a pretty fine tooth on it. So we're going to load some cotton on the card. You'll see all the little neps and stuff. And then I'm going to brace this card on my knee, hold it with my hand. And some people like to put a towel on their leg to protect themselves. I'm going to begin to slowly comb through it. I'm going to transfer by reversing the card. Now there is a more traditional Acadian way of combing this cotton. I pretty much do it like you do wool, and I have pretty successful results. Now I'm going to transfer it to the other card. And this is the Acadian way where you actually, it's a little too windy, where you actually transfer just a little bit. Got a little messy because of the wind. And then you roll backwards to get your roll log. But I'm not very good at that, and I get it stuck again. So what I do, let me get it back on the card. As I said, this is a little tricky in the wind. What I do is I lift it up and roll it like that. And then you'll often see people carding with the back of the card just to roll it a little bit. But that's going to be a fine roll log. It doesn't have to be perfect. We just want it all separated so there are no big neps or clumps. In fact, I see a little guy right there. It looks like a little piece of the plant. So let's see that again at another angle. Hopefully the wind will cooperate a little bit better this time. But we're going to load the card. See if I can get all that on there. Then I'm going to take my card and slowly start working my way up. You notice I started down here, and I'm slowly working my way up. Then I'm going to transfer. You can actually transfer back to this card as well. I'm just trying to break up all those little neps which appear in the cotton. This cotton has been mechanically ginned which can kind of make it a little clumpier. Hand ginning was the tradition in Acadiana, and in fact, as a point of curiosity, people used to make everyone in the family fill a small shoe with cotton seeds every night. And the way that that was fair was if you were a child, you had a smaller shoe and you got to uh, gin a little bit less cotton than everyone else in the family. Um, so I always thought that was really neat. And in the exhibit that I mentioned previously, the Acadian Brown Cotton exhibit, they actually had shoes, baby shoes that were full of cottonseed, which I thought was really fun. All right. As I mentioned, this is not quite the traditional way that Acadians would card. Austin Clark, who I mentioned earlier, he's an amazing fiber artist, and he cards in a slightly different way, and I can link you to a YouTube video of him doing his carding. But this way works really good for me. This method of transferring, you see, I'm going to do the reverse. So normally I'd be coming this way. I'm going to reverse that, and that's going to transfer to the other card. This prevents you from having to switch hands and switch cards. All right, I'm going to lift off, and then roll up the rolag. All right, so now that I've got several rolled up, I'm going to go ahead and do some spinning. So the Acadians spun on what they call a spike, which is similar to the spindle on a great wheel today, or on this little wheel right here. But they did that in a wool wheel, or actually technically a flax wheel. They were used to spinning flax and wool, and so they had treadle wheels, and they had people convert their treadle wheels by adding a spike to it. So that's the traditional Acadian way to spin, but spinning cotton on a great wheel works really well because it's great for short fibers. You can look at the original video that I linked earlier about this particular wheel and see some of the technique for how I did it. I use a little bit of spit, and then I'll slowly spin my wheel, and that saliva is going to grab the fiber. Going to work that out to the tip. Then spin my first length of yarn. Put plenty of twist in it. And then we can slide that down and start again. I got a little too far. Oh, there we go. So here's the secret to joining on. You need to take a little bit of your spun fiber, just lay it on top of your carded cotton, and it's so sticky it'll literally just stick to itself, which is wonderful. And then you just gotta do your double draft. Make sure that you spin a lot of twist into it. Cotton needs a lot of twist because of how short the fiber is. So I've got a little bit of fiber left. I just wanted to show you how to join. We're going to take some already twisted fiber, lay that on top of our cotton lint, and it will grab on. And just as easy as that, we've joined. Add plenty of twist. Now the Acadians, when they were spinning for blankets, they didn't spin as fine as this. They would have spun this fine for house linens and clothing, but they spun quite thick for their blankets. You would think that in Louisiana you wouldn't need a blanket, but it actually gets quite cool. And more than that, it gets very humid, and I think some of that damp was absorbed by those heavy blankets. And you can just leave your bundle right there on the tip until you're ready for your next piece. All right, so I'm going to show you a little bit of the drafting. It is a double draft, sort of. It is, of course, long draw, but you're going to put your spun yarn on the rolag to join, as I showed you. And you're going to slowly pull back. I like to pinch off, some people don't, but I pinch off my fiber and I put a lot of twist into it. Then I did a little too much there. There we go. Then, see, I got a little too much twist in it there, so I can actually just pull back with the twist that's already in the fiber. Then slowly start to add more twist. And you'll see that most of the slubs come out of it. I've got a little one there, and I can twist that with my hand. And I've got a smooth piece of yarn. The wind is absolutely beautiful today, but it does make spinning such a light fiber a little bit annoying. And there we go. When you're doing long draw, a broken draft is bound to happen. Not a problem. Just start again. Now, the good thing is, you got little pieces that break off. It's very easy because of how short the fibers are to recomb these, so there's no waste. It's one of the great things about cotton. had some stuff come with me. Now notice I'm spinning away from the tip of the spindle at roughly a 45-degree angle. That's really important. And there's so much twist in the yarn right now, I can draft without even turning the wheel. Then when I get to a certain point, I'll start turning the wheel. We've got a little piece of fluff right there. It's just like magic sometimes watching the slubs come out of the yarn. If it gets a little too thin, you can break it yourself and do just like you would a join to get it back on track. I think spending this week is going to give me some time to reflect about who we are as a country, about the resilience that we've seen in the Acadian people, even though they were forced out of their homeland several times and they had to settle in an area full of foreign and unusual fibers and animals and environments and climates. They survived, and I think this country too is going to survive. Not to get too poetic, I know this is a fiber art channel and not a political channel, but I really hope that we can heal some of the great divisions that have appeared in the crack of the facade of our country. All right, that's about it for this week. I hope you have a wonderful first week of Tour de Fleece. Get spinning. If you haven't seen it yet, you can watch my video about the Lazy Spinner's Guide to the Tour de Fleece. And happy spinning. Have a great week.